Years ago that I reached out to several men in my life asking for help, asking for support. And these men were mentors. These men were people that I looked up to. Some of them were my peers, some of them were guys from college. Like I reached out to all these people, and as I sat down and started writing this email to them and saying, "Hey, I'm struggling. Like I have messed up a lot of my relationships. I feel like I keep going from woman to woman. Like I've messed up." And I sat down, I was writing this email to them asking for support, asking for connection, asking for validation, asking for some accountability. And I wrote this email. I felt great about it. I'm like, hey, I'm starting to actually work through this piece. And I sent it to 8 guys. Over the next couple of years, there was only one guy that stayed in touch. The rest of them disappeared. And inside of all of this, I started to fall apart. Now, it wasn't their fault at all, but it was my attempt to reach out to try to find support, try to find someone else to be able to help hold me accountable, to be able to help me actually stand up as a man, because I didn't know how to do that. All I knew is that I was like screwing up all the relationships I was in. A couple years ago, it was about 2 years ago now, I reached out to all of those individuals again. And I said, hey, by the way, I reached out. Here's my original letter saying, hey, I'd like accountability because I'm struggling. And here's what's happened over the past 6 years, where I've cheated on my wife 5 times, where I've gaslit, I've manipulated her, I've abused her to the point that she's left. And now we're on the edge of a divorce. Hey, now can we start this accountability program? Now can we actually start talking as men to start working through this? And they're like, oh my gosh, like, thanks for letting us know. Like, we're here for you. Lasted for about 2 months. Then they faded away, and guys left the group. You'll see this piece inside of being in an abusive relationship where people don't get you, or people don't understand the shit that you're going through right now, right today. Let's try to talk to your family, to your friends, to people that like are there to help support you, and they don't get it. Like they don't understand it because you're at the place where you're like, hey, I need help. I need community. I need someone to actually help support me through the shit and the mental mind fuck that's actually going on. And I don't have anybody. Because you go and you talk to your friends and your family and they're like, just leave him. Like he's abusive. Like, don't you see it? And it's almost like they're trying to help by like slapping you in the face, being like, don't you see he's abusive? And you're like, I get it, but I don't actually know how to be able to move forward. Like, I don't actually know how do I even heal from this? How do I even move forward from this? And so many times we see people that are stuck completely inside the abuse. How many of you feel alone in the relationship? Like, type in alone down to the bottom. How many of you feel absolutely 100% alone? Like you're the only person dealing with this right here, right now. Go to your keyboard, type in alone right now. Because I need you to see other people commenting. And when you start realizing this, you start realizing you're not the only one that's alone, because there's hundreds and hundreds of other people that are suffering inside of these toxic relationships. One of my clients texted me earlier today, or last night. It was saying, hey, she was at her doctor's appointment and she's there talking to her doctor's appointment. And she was talking to one of the people that was there, one of the nurses that was helping her, realizing that that person was dealing in the same exact type of situation that she was dealing with. You're not alone. The hard part is you will feel alone. You will act like you're alone, and you will stay alone because the mindset will keep you stuck. It will keep you stuck permanently because what happens is when you're alone, it allows shame to come in and rule your life. It allows shame to start creeping in and slowly grab onto you and pull you back down into the pit of being with this toxic guy because you're like, well, I don't want to tell anybody because they don't understand. That's because you're telling the wrong people. You're telling the people that just want to fix you, but don't know how to give you support. You're telling the people that care about you, but they don't know how to actually help you get free mentally and emotionally. Because until we actually break the trauma bond, break the ties, break the things that have you stuck, the stories, the lies you're believing, you will stay stuck forever and you will stay alone. This is what people struggle with and people stay stuck with for a long period of time. It's interesting because we'll pull people together. And as many of our programs that we have, we build communities because we have to connect you to other people that actually get it and understand the shit that you've been going through. But what happens is you'll have one person that will slip away. And they'll be like, well, I just didn't want to show up. I didn't want to show up late. I didn't want to show up and be an inconvenience. I didn't want to show up. All these stories they will start to say so that they can just be alone. And then they wonder why a couple months later, they're back in the same relationship. They're back in the middle of it because they started to separate themselves from people that actually get it, from people that were able to help them move forward because they walk the same path, they understand the same challenges, and they were stuck previously, but now they're not. And when people get unplugged from people that are actually growing and developing and changing, it all falls apart. You go back to the shit. You go back to the person who abused you. You start to justify it. You start to have hope. You start to rationalize in your mind, maybe I should go back because it wasn't that bad, right? And then you spiral back into it. You feel the shame. You feel the guilt of going back on your word of all these people that were so excited because you were getting free and now you're not free and you don't tell anybody. And you go back into a place where you're 100% alone. How many of you have seen this cycle? Where you've seen this cycle happen over and over and over in your life? Like getting away and then going back. Getting away and then mentally changing it and then going back. Like getting away and then going back to it over and over and over again. How many of you have seen this cycle happen and you're like, this feels crazy. Like, why am I even doing this? This happens when you're stuck in a toxic environment. And when you're stuck feeling alone, feeling the shame, feeling the guilt, you won't get free. I want you to understand how I actually help people be free. We have hundreds of people who have come through our challenges, through our communities, but I want to actually show you step by step what we do to help you move to be free. As I finish up this live today, I want you to shoot me a DM that says alone. We'll respond back to you, figuring out where you are and help you move forward. For those of you who watch on some of the platforms that we don't have the DMs like YouTube, then go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Because I want you to understand how you can actually be free from the toxic environment. Just understand if you stay alone, you'll stay stuck forever. Like if you stay alone, your mindset will start to rationalize, to justify, to make a way for you to keep staying in the pit, in the shame, and all the shit that keeps going on. So I need you to take a stand for you and say, hey, I'm no longer going to be alone. I'm going to connect with other people that actually get this, actually understand this. I'm going to be able to walk the same path that hundreds of people have walked before to actually have your liberation and your freedom happen. But you have to actually choose you. You have to be willing to make a step into your healing, into your freedom. And the only way to get untrapped from this shame and from this cycle of being stuck and being alone is first off, you raising a hand and you saying, I don't want to be alone. Shoot me a DM that says alone. We'll start a conversation. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough to start moving forward and to raise your hand saying, I no longer want to be alone. Shoot me a DM that says alone and we'll talk today. Y'all have a blessed